3 men in ski masks came through my daughter's back door at 2:14 in the morning, and by the time the sun came up, 2 of them were in a hospital, and one of them was in the back of a police cruiser telling detectives everything he knew just to make sure he never had to see me again. I want to tell you right now, I am not a violent man, but I am also not the kind of man who lies still in a dark house while somebody threatens my granddaughter. And if those 2 facts don't fit together in your head, you've never had a granddaughter. Welcome back to the Patriarch's Revenge. Before we dive into today's intense story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story of justice and protection. Today, we bring you the gripping account of a grandfather who proved that family is worth fighting for, no matter the odds.
Name's Walter Hale, 69 years old, 2 replaced knees, a hearing aid I pretend I don't need, 41 years married to a woman named Dolores, who still thinks I'm exaggerating about half of what happened that night. Drove long-haul freight for 32 years, which doesn't sound like training for combat, but a truck stop after midnight will teach a man things no university will. 3 armed robberies talked down, 1 knife fight that wasn't mine to begin with. I'm telling you that now because it matters in about 4 minutes. Hold on to it. That Friday, Dolores and I drove out to watch our granddaughter, Poppy, 7 years old, missing her front tooth, while her parents, my daughter Renee and her husband Curtis, went to a wedding 2 states over. Overnight stay, nothing dramatic. Poppy met us at the door in her socks and informed me she had very important business, which turned out to be Uno, and she beat me 4 straight games with the calm cruelty of a seasoned card shark. Hold on to that image of her, too. Curtis hugged me at the door, same as always, but his handshake that day was a little too tight, his eyes somewhere else. I noticed it, didn't chase it. Men that age get like that before weddings, I figured. I was wrong about why, but I'll get to that. They left at 6. Dolores made spaghetti. Poppy demanded garlic bread, the crunchy kind. We watched half a movie about a talking dog before she fell asleep against my shoulder, and I carried her up to bed the way I carried Renee 30 years back. Lights out by 11. I was down the hall in the guest room, close enough to hear her if she called out for water, which kids that age do more than you'd think. At 2:14, the house made a sound it wasn't supposed to make. A soft click from the kitchen. Not loud. That's the thing nobody tells you about danger. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. Renee and Curtis's back door sticks on the bottom hinge. Anybody in that family shoulders it open fast on purpose so it doesn't groan. Somebody being careful, somebody who didn't know that trick, eases it open slow instead. And slow on that door ends in one soft catch of a sound, like a held breath let out. 40 years of listening for trouble before it arrives, and I heard it. Every hair on my neck stood up before my brain finished the sentence. Didn't wake Dolores. No time. Found my knee brace by feel. Moved to the door. Voices. Low. Male. Not Curtis. Safe's in the office. 2nd floor. Kids' room's up there too. Keep her quiet if she wakes. We're not here for that. Kids' room. Keep her quiet. That's not a fear that hits your stomach. It skips your stomach entirely and lands in your hands, and your hands go still and ready, both at once. No gun in that house. Never carry around a kid. Dolores wouldn't have it, and neither would I. So I stood there for 1 full second in the dark hallway with nothing in my hands and 2 strangers between me and my granddaughter's door, and I want you to know that second felt like an hour. Then I remembered the skillet. Renee kept a cast-iron pan hanging on a decorative hook outside the guest room. Dolores had been after her for a year to season it properly, and thank God she never got around to hanging it anywhere else. I lifted it off the hook slow so it wouldn't knock the wall, and I felt the weight of it settle into my hand like it had been waiting there for exactly this. Flat against the wall at the top of the stairs, dark, socks on hardwood. My heart going so hard I was sure it would give me away before my feet did. An old man holding a frying pan like Excalibur, and even then some ridiculous part of my brain thought, "Walter, if you die tonight, this is an embarrassing way to go." I listened. 2 sets of footsteps climbing. One heavy, wheezing on the 3rd step, taking his time. One light, quick, confident, moving like a man who'd done this before and didn't expect trouble from a house full of sleeping people. That one worried me more. I counted his steps without meaning to. 4, 5, 6, almost to the landing.
I stopped breathing. He came up first, turned into the hallway. Poppy's nightlight threw just enough glow under her door that I could see the shape of him. Dark clothes, ski mask, one gloved hand already reaching for her doorknob. I didn't think. I want that understood. There was no plan left in me by that point, no strategy, nothing but 40 years of instinct and one fact sitting in my chest like a stone. That hand does not touch that door. I swung, caught him across the side of the head before his fingers ever closed on the knob. He dropped straight down, no sound but the thud of him hitting the floor and the pan ringing faintly in my own hands. And for one heartbeat, just one, the hallway was silent again, and I let myself think it might be over. It wasn't. The heavy one came pounding up the last of the stairs at the noise, and he had something in his hand, low against his leg, and it caught what little light there was. Metal. I didn't wait to find out what kind. "Hey!" I shouted it, loud, on purpose, my voice cracking in a way I'm not proud of. "Right here, you overfed sack of garbage!" It worked. His head snapped toward me, away from that door, and he came at me down the narrow hallway with his shoulders low, and I remember thinking, very clearly, very calmly, in the strange way your mind goes quiet right before something bad, this is gonna hurt no matter what happens next. He was younger, faster, 25 years faster, easy. I had one thing he didn't. A hallway too narrow for him to get around me in, and a side table I could reach without looking at. I shoved it into his knees with everything I had left. He stumbled, cursed, and I swung the skillet down across his forearm just as he was bringing that hand up. Something metal hit the floor and skittered into the dark. I didn't look. There wasn't time to look. He grabbed for me anyway, one hand closing hard around my collar, and for a second, a real second, the kind where you feel every one of your 69 years at once, I thought my knees were gonna buy him the fight. They didn't. I drove the heel of my free hand up under his jaw, an old truck stop trick I hadn't used in decades and hoped to God still worked, and it bought me just enough room to bring the skillet around one more time. The heavy one came pounding up the last of the stairs at the noise, and he had something in his hand, low against his leg, and it caught what little light there was. Metal. I didn't wait to find out what kind. "Hey!" I shouted it, loud, on purpose, my voice cracking in a way I'm not proud of. "Right here, you overfed sack of garbage!" It worked. His head snapped toward me, away from that door, and he came at me down the narrow hallway with his shoulders low,
and I remember thinking, very clearly, very calmly, in the strange way your mind goes quiet right before something bad, this is gonna hurt no matter what happens next. He was younger, faster, 25 years faster easy. I had one thing he didn't, a hallway too narrow for him to get around me in, and a side table I could reach without looking at. I shoved it into his knees with everything I had left. He stumbled, cursed, and I swung the skillet down across his forearm just as he was bringing that hand up. Something metal hit the floor and skittered into the dark. I didn't look. There wasn't time to look. He grabbed for me anyway, one hand closing hard around my collar, and for a second, a real second, the kind where you feel every one of your 69 years at once, I thought my knees were gonna buy him the fight. They didn't. I drove the heel of my free hand up under his jaw, an old truck stop trick I hadn't used in decades and hoped to God still worked, and it bought me just enough room to bring the skillet around one more time.
That was the one that ended it. He staggered back, clutching his arm, and somewhere behind me I heard Dolores's voice, sharp as I hadn't heard it since our kids were teenagers testing curfews. "I've called 911, 4 minutes out, and Walter, if you don't finish this in 4 minutes, I'm going to be very disappointed in you." I have never, in 41 years of marriage, loved that woman more than I did in that exact second. The heavy one ran, past me, down the stairs 2 at a time, out the same door he'd eased open so carefully not 10 minutes before, and this time it banged hard against the frame behind him. No more caution left in him at all. I let him go. Chasing a man down a flight of stairs on 2 artificial knees is a young man's game, and I am not, whatever the last 5 minutes might suggest, a young man. Quiet came down over that hallway all at once, the kind of quiet that rings in your ears after something loud. My own breathing was the loudest thing in the house. I stood there, chest heaving, skillet still raised, waiting to see if the quiet was going to hold. The first one, still down by Poppy's door, groaned and tried to push himself up onto one elbow. "Don't you move a muscle, son," I told him, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. "I've got 50 pounds of cast iron and absolutely nothing left to lose tonight." He didn't move. That's when Poppy's door opened. My heart, which had just started to slow down, stopped cold a second time. There she was, in her nightgown, hair mussed from sleep, standing in the doorway, looking at a man crumpled on her hallway floor, and her grandfather standing over him, holding a frying pan like it was the last weapon on earth. And she looked at all of it with nothing but the calm, total confusion of a 7-year-old who hasn't learned yet that the world contains things worth being afraid of. "Grandpa, is it a sleepover for that man too?" I laughed, short, broken, half adrenaline. "No, baby, he's not staying. Back to bed with Grandma." Police were there inside the 4 minutes Dolores promised. Deputy Alvarez looked at me, looked at the skillet still in my hand, looked back at me like the math wasn't adding up. "Sir, you took down an armed intruder with a frying pan." "Cast iron, ma'am. Cast iron will solve most of your problems in this life if you swing it with conviction." Here's where it stopped being a home invasion and started being something else. The man on the porch steps, ice pack on his head courtesy of Dolores, who could not, apparently, resist tending an injured man even after he'd broken into her daughter's house, started talking, not to police first, to me. "This isn't personal," he said, which I have never once heard precede anything that wasn't. Curtis owes Rourke 60 grand. We were just supposed to grab whatever's in that safe, cash, jewelry, call it a down payment. Nobody was supposed to touch the kid, I swear. That was never the plan. Kowalski panics and says stupid things, that's all that was. $60,000. My son-in-law owed a loan shark $60,000 and had not told a living soul it had gotten bad enough that men were coming through his own back door while his daughter slept upstairs. I sat with that a second, furious, and then madder still, but not at Reyes on the ground in front of me, and not even in that instant mostly at Curtis, at whoever had decided a debt was worth more than a 7-year-old's safety. That distinction mattered to me, even shaking with adrenaline at 3 in the morning.
Reyes gave up Rourke's name with much prodding, which tells you plenty about the loyalty economics of men who do this for a living. Reyes gave up Kowalski, too, easy to find the next morning by a very identifiable limp, picked up at a walk-in clinic 2 towns over, telling a confused physician's assistant it was a workplace injury. Curtis and Renee got the call at 4 a.m. and drove through the night. I watched my son-in-law walk through that front door at 7 in the morning, gray-faced, realizing what his silence had nearly cost his own daughter. And I don't need to revisit that memory often, but I suspect I'll carry it the rest of my life regardless. He said, "I thought I could fix it before anybody had to know," unable to look at anyone. "Son," I told him, as gently as I had it in me at that hour, "there is no version of fixing it quietly that doesn't end exactly where we are right now. A debt like that doesn't stay hidden. It comes looking eventually, and last night it came looking through your daughter's bedroom door." He put his face in his hands. Renee, furious as she clearly was, put a hand on his back anyway. That's family. You can be angry at somebody and still stand next to them while they fall apart. Police picked up Rourke 6 days later. Reyes and Kowalski's statements, plus records Curtis finally handed over without being asked twice, tied Rourke's little unlicensed lending operation to 4 other households in the county. Families squeezed the same way, some far longer than 1 night's worth of trouble. His bar shut down inside 3 weeks. Alvarez told me later Rourke's looking at 8 to 14 years, depending on how the extortion charges shake out. Reyes, for talking fast, considerably less. I've made my peace with that. Vengeance was never really what I wanted that night. I wanted one thing: my granddaughter waking up safe. Curtis and Denny's old company. Denny was his business partner, long gone by then, the man who'd actually taken the loan out and vanished, is gone now, dissolved. Curtis foremans for another outfit, taking orders instead of giving them, which by his own admission has been good for a pride that occasionally still objects. He and Renee did 6 months of counseling, most of it built around one hard truth: a marriage doesn't survive on the theory that one partner protects the other from bad news. Renee told me last spring, the 2 of us on her back porch, that the man who came home from that wedding at 4 a.m. was a different man than the one who'd left the night before. "He tells me things now," she said, "even the ones that make him look bad, especially those. That's usually how you find out a marriage is finally built on something solid instead of something borrowed." She considered that, laid down a draw 4 card with the calm cruelty of a card shark twice her age, and said, "Draw 4, Grandpa," which I choose to believe was her way of saying she understood. I think about that hallway more than I let on to Dolores, who worries enough about my knees and my heart without adding a home invasion to the list. how close that hand came to the doorknob before the skillet caught him, how the whole rest of my life, my marriage, my grandchildren, every ordinary Tuesday I've got left was riding on whether an old man's ears still worked well enough to hear a door click wrong in the dark. I got lucky that night, luckier than I like to admit, but I believe this all the way down to the bone, and I'd tell any man my age listening right now the same thing. You are never too old to be the last line of defense for the people you love. Your knees might go, your hearing might go. Your reflexes are certainly not what they were at 30, but there is something in an old man, 40, 50, 60 years in the making, that does not go soft just because the calendar says it should. Call it experience, call it stubbornness, call it love with its sleeves rolled up. I hope to God none of you ever need it the way I needed it that night, but if you do, I hope it's there for you the way it was there for me, standing at the top of a dark staircase in my socks, holding a cast-iron skillet like it was the only thing in the world, because for about 90 seconds it was.
What a powerful reminder of what family true patriarchs are willing to do to protect the ones they love. Walter's courage in that hallway shows us that age is no barrier when it comes to standing up for your family. How would you have reacted in Walter's shoes? What do you think about how Curtis handled his debt in the end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have a story of standing up for your family, overcoming hidden trials, or taking a stand when it mattered most, send it to us at stories@thepatriarchsrevenge.com. Your story might be featured in our next episode. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to The Patriarch's Revenge for more unforgettable stories. Until next time, stand strong and protect what matters.